The hallway was packed with noise, lockers slamming, students laughing, and chatter bouncing off the walls. For a newcomer, it was overwhelming. For Emily, who had just transferred to this school, it felt like stepping into a storm she wasn't prepared for. But she walked with her head held high, clutching her books tightly to her chest. She had promised herself not to show fear, not to show weakness. What nobody knew, though, was that behind her calm eyes was a girl trained in self-defense, a girl who had learned the hard way never to let anyone make her feel powerless again. It all began when a group of boys, known around the school as the troublemakers, spotted her near the lockers. They whispered and laughed, sizing her up like she was their next target. Emily had seen the look before. She had moved enough times to know how bullies operated. They picked on the quiet ones, the new ones, the ones who looked like they wouldn't fight back. Unfortunately for them, Emily wasn't the same kind of girl they expected. As she reached for her locker, one of the boys, Tyler, stepped in front of her, blocking her path with a smug grin. His friends gathered around, forming a circle. "New girl, huh?" he said mockingly. "Looks like you're in our territory." Emily tried to sidestep, but he shifted, blocking her again. His friends laughed, egging him on. She kept her composure, reminding herself to stay calm. Her mother had always told her, the first fight isn't with them, it's with yourself. Don't let fear win. But then it happened. As Tyler leaned in too close, pretending to bump into her, his hand crossed the line. In a split second, he grabbed her chest, whether by accident or with cruel intention, Emily didn't care. Every muscle in her body reacted like lightning. Her training took over before her mind even had time to think. With one sharp move, she twisted his wrist, forcing him back with a yelp. His friends gasped, but before they could step in, Emily dropped her books, pivoted, and struck with precision, an elbow here, a shove there. Within seconds, the bullies who had cornered her were stumbling backward, falling to the floor, eyes wide with shock. The hallway fell silent. Dozens of students had been watching, expecting the usual scene where a new girl would be humiliated. Instead, they witnessed something none of them would forget. Tyler scrambled to his feet, his face burning red, but he didn't dare step forward again. He and his crew had been completely dismantled in front of everyone, by the very girl they thought would be their victim. For Emily, it wasn't about showing off. Her heart was racing, and her hands trembled slightly as she picked her books back up. But she didn't let it show. She simply looked at them and said, steady and firm, "Don't ever touch me, or anyone else, like that again." The authority in her voice cut deeper than any physical move she had made. The bullies stood frozen, unsure how to respond. Word spread fast. By lunchtime, everyone in the school knew about the new girl who had flipped the bullies. Some students came up to her with wide smiles, whispering, "That was amazing." Others admired her from a distance, too shy to say anything. For the first time, Emily wasn't invisible, she was respected. But with that respect came new challenges. Tyler's crew didn't just vanish after their humiliation. They wanted revenge. Over the next few days, Emily noticed them lurking, whispering, plotting something. A part of her worried, not for herself, but for the possibility that they might target someone else just to get back at her. And that was something she couldn't allow. Sure enough, the bullies struck again, but not at her. Instead, they cornered a younger boy behind the gym, shoving him against the wall. Emily happened to be passing by when she heard the muffled cries. Without hesitation, she ran in. "Enough," she shouted, her voice sharp as steel. The bullies froze, surprised she had appeared. She didn't fight this time, though. She stood her ground, staring them down. "You already know what happens when you mess with me. But now you need to understand something else, you're not going to mess with anyone in this school again." There was something in her voice, something unshakable, that broke through. Maybe it was the memory of their public defeat. Maybe it was the crowd of students gathering again, ready to see if history would repeat itself. Whatever it was, Tyler finally dropped his fists and muttered, "Fine. Whatever." They backed off, leaving the boy unharmed. For the first time in a long while, the bullies had met their match. That day marked a turning point, not just for Emily, but for the entire school. Students who had been silent about their own experiences with bullying found courage in her example. Teachers, once blind to what happened in the hallways, began to pay closer attention. And Emily, she finally felt like she belonged, not because she had proven her strength with her fists, but because she had proven her strength of spirit. In the weeks that followed, she built friendships she never thought possible. The younger boy she had defended became like a little brother to her. Other students gravitated toward her, not out of fear, but out of respect and admiration. And though she never flaunted her self-defense training again, everyone knew that Emily was someone you didn't cross, not because she was dangerous but because she stood for what was right. By the end of the school year, the same hallways that had once felt like a storm now felt like a place of belonging. Emily had carved out her space, not by blending in, but by standing tall. She had turned fear into power, and power into protection, not just for herself, but for others. And perhaps the most important lesson she left behind was this: courage isn't about never being scared. It's about standing up, even when your voice shakes, even when your hands tremble, and saying, no more. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person's strength to change the entire story for everyone else.